Welcome to Science Philosophy in a Flash, a mini podcast series produced by the Scientists Creative Services team. In this series, we highlight researchers' unique outlooks on what it means to be a scientist. Claire Higgins is a reader in the Department of Bioengineering at Imperial College London. Her philosophy of science involves a problem-solving approach to her research, where she models tissue growth, development, and repair using human skin and hair follicles. In their latest work, her research team transplanted hair follicles into human skin scars in an attempt to make that tissue healthy again. In this episode, Iris Kulbatski from the Science Creative Services team spoke with Higgins to learn more about how she takes an engineering-inspired approach to her research.
When I started my own lab, I focused on how the hair can regulate skin homeostasis. When your skin develops, your hair comes first. About 9 weeks in human gestation, you start getting hair on the embryo's face. A little bit later, things like blood vessels come, nerves then innervate the skin and the hair follicles. I believe that the hair drives that. We know that in animals, at least, when the hair follicle is actively growing, there's more blood vessels and nerves. And then when the follicle regresses into a resting state, there's less blood vessels and nerves. And so it's definitely coupled with the follicle. And so my interest went in that direction of how the hair regulates things, and scars seemed a natural next step because they obviously lack blood vessels and nerves and all the things that I thought that hair follicles could control. I try to only work with human tissue, which has its challenges, but it also means it's much more applicable and translational. And obviously scarring is a big problem. We get samples from patients, and in obtaining the samples, they will get scars. So it seemed like a nice link. I'm in a bioengineering department, and engineering is really different. They set challenges and try to solve them, and it's a sort of top-down approach. I like seeing the clinical challenge and then figuring out how to address that. And so some of the approaches we use will be things like cell therapy. We're not looking at the individual change in a certain gene and what pathway that elicits, which I think is much more what I associate with a traditional biologist. So I feel like I'm a scientist hybrid engineer.
Thank you for listening to Science Philosophy in a Flash. To learn more about Higgins' research, please check out the link in the episode notes.